Moon was trying to make sure he had just the right setup. I mean, Moon is one of those players with a very, very specific setup. He actually has his keyboard rested on his mouse pad and then has a matching mouse pad on the other side to make sure his keyboard is exactly level. So, I mean, that really goes to show how much these players value that perfect setup. And it looks like both players are ready. So let's go into Game 1 of Dignitas Naniwa against WeMade Fox Moon.
Oh, Day, I'm excited.
Oh, I am super duper beyond pumped, Marcus. I can't believe it.
That's MMA.
Oh, is that? Well,
That's
wow.
actually MMA.
That's a great little outfit.
They do kind of look somewhat similar, I guess. Not really.
Either way, we do have Dignitas Naniwa spawning in the top right position. And oh, looks like this is an updated version. In the old version of MLG Shakura's Plateau, it was only cross-map positions. But here, now that there is the blocked off, there is no destructible rock at the back door. We do see in the top left, we have Moon as the blue Zerg.
Now, what we do have is, of course, the rocks down below on the ramp, and that's going to be one of the bigger changes on this map. So it is still possible to kind of get back through there. However, no direct access to their opponent's base. And already we're going to see Naniwa with the pylon at his natural. GLs and GGs are given out here at the beginning. And Moon's opener is one that I'm actually really interested in. He's going to automatically... No, I'm just misreading that. So he goes ahead and throws down the extractor for the extractor trick. And reason I was about to say that is, you know, I had the chat with Idra the other day about the fact that most of the Koreans are liking to kind of start with the gas pool builds. And, you know, that's not necessarily the case for some of the other foreign Zergs.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are trying to get away with an expansion as early as possible, but they are very fearful of players who open up, just like Naniwa is doing, with a faster forge. It looks like Naniwa, as expected, is going to try to get away with as fast of a Nexus as he possibly can. But Moon there is going for the pool gas opening. Let him get speed somewhat quickly, but not before he ends up taking this expansion. Naniwa clearly prepared for this, trying to get ready to throw down perhaps a pylon, but either way definitely wants to get this Expo Nexus up very fast.
Yeah, I do not think he's going to go for the pylon at all. In fact, yeah, there it is, Nexus first here coming out by Naniwa. Now punishable in this, you know, in this particular case. Dave, what do you think?
You know, I don't think that there's going to be a good way for Moon to put a lot of pressure on, because he's not really gearing up to do any aggression. He only has one larva at this point in time. So, you know, Moon's probably just going to pull back, get a couple of Zerglings in that first queen, try to get this expansion up if he can. And in the meantime, Naniwa will likely go into some big macro play. What I'm worried about for Naniwa is how is he going to end up securing this third base, or even this third base. You see that both of them are either open, wide, or you have this awkward path between these two bases that needs defense as well. In other words, the only way to defend as a Protoss on this map is with a lot of units.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's a little bit like, map is escaping me right now, but where you have the 3 rotational symmetry. Come on, help me out. Is it Crevasse? No, Crevasse.
Oh, well, Crevasse
yes.
It's the 4-player one? That has
it's not in the map pool. The point being is that for the Protoss, it's very difficult to defend between the 3 bases, even though they're all right around that same area. I mean, the third goes even further out from that natural. So I agree, it's a tough thing to do. Now, we do have a couple links coming forth, but they will see the Psycore, the Forge. They'll even get a hit from that Photon Cannon. And already we've got probes here on this Nexus. So it is up and running. It's operational. The open sign is flashing on and off. And Moon is only halfway done with his natural.
An uncharacteristic late larva add by that queen. You always want to do that right at 25 energy, especially in the early game. Even being late by a couple of seconds can be potentially fatal. But it looks like Moon being a little bit distracted at the start of the game. He is trying to continue with these Zerglings to pick off this probe. And this is very nice timing by Naniwa. He's trying to run in here right before the Zergling speed ends up finishing, but he doesn't get any sort of good knowledge. Sees what he would expect at this point. So we're going to see the way that Naniwa is going to try to play this off. Might go for a large gateway push.
Right now, just getting his warp gate research and chronoing out some more probes over here. He is ahead by a couple. on the worker count, 27-28. There we see Moon just pull ahead as we see a lot of drones transferring over. Is he going to take that third down there? I notice he does have a drone right there, and I think he is playing a similar style to what we saw with Ibra, going for that fast third base.
Do love that fast third base style, especially against an early expanding Protoss. Very little that Protoss can do at this point. I mean, Naniwa, as we see, has just one sentry, is now adding on 3 gateways. Still don't quite get the sense of what Naniwa wants to do in those later stages, because if you want to really commit to attack, you'll get 4, 5, 6 gateways extra and really put a ton of pressure on. But Naniwa, as usual, is going for a little bit of a longer term play, favoring chrono boosting probes instead of any upgrades.
Very curious to see what he is going to do. Right now we are just seeing a lot of drones come out as the creep's starting to spread as well, getting it down from his main to his natural. And there we see the lair popping up right now. And, you know, greedy Zerg as it is. We do have an Overlord making his way in. Moon did manage to sneak him all the way back there from the beginning of the game. He'll count all the gateways, have a good idea. There we're going to see the sentry start plugging away at that Overlord. It will inevitably go down. Warp gates are opening, or will be opening here very, very soon as that finishes. And Roach Warren, yes, Roach Warren is going down for Moon.
So Moon sacking that Overlord, getting a lot of good information, building that evolution chamber for more upgrades. The third base is now complete. Does he have a queen wandering over there? Doesn't look like it, just building that third queen as is. And that was an important scout for Zerg, because if he came in here and spotted a Stargate, he'd start to be very, very worried about defense at this third base. But as we see, the Evo chamber would have finished in time, and now that there is no threat, he can get some sort of happy fancy upgrade. Interestingly, going for Zerglings instead of any range.
Yeah, there we have 18 Zerglings coming out right now, as these 2 Zerglings at the front are going to see that forge go down, and then these units from Naniwa making their way across the map. Now, not a probe with them quite yet, just trying to see if we have a probe on the left side of the map where Moon is, and I do not see one at all. He's starting to rally his Lings to the outside as well. He'll do a little bit of scouting. Lings will come into the back, but there are quite a few units here for Naniwa in comparison to what we've got, but 7 Roaches coming out for Moon right there in order to try to defend this.
Ooh, Naniwa tries to sneak a scouting Zergling, but it does get picked off. Naniwa carefully making an advancement through the center of the map. He's got to be very leery of those wide open spaces, wants to hug against these walls to make sure that he can get at least some kind of good force field placement. He has 1 Zealot trying to march out. You are so brave, Mr. Zealot. Trying to do a little whack on that Roach, trying to get to that third base, but no, will get completely eliminated. But at least Naniwa get the chance to see exactly what Moon was producing.
We've got Overlord Speed, Burrow, and Roach Speed coming out here for Moon. Meanwhile, the Robotics Bay did go down for Naniwa, and he's starting his upgrades with the forge that was rebuilt right there at the bottom of the ramp of the natural. I mean, Naniwa right now just a little bit behind in the supply, but chrono boosting out those upgrades. That's one of the awesomest things about being a Protoss right there. And he does have this observer out now, so he'll get a good eyeball at Moon's setup and scenario right now.
Now, this is actually a really brilliant push that Naniwa did. Look at the drone saturation by Moon. It's actually not as high as he would want. He only has 58 drones at this point in the game, even taking a 4th base to try to grab a little bit more economy. Naniwa moved out and then pulled right back to his own base. So all these Zerglings, all these Roaches, perhaps even this Burrow upgrade, not actually useful for Moon at this stage in the game. So Naniwa got himself a nice little advantage that he's using to build up an even bigger army that's going to be the real main attack. And once that Colossi count starts to climb up, Moon's going to have a rough time with just these Lings and Roaches to defend.
Yeah, Roaches will move forward, picks off a pylon. We do have extended thermal lance nearing completion, and the first Colossus coming out. That tunneling claw is actually the second Colossus. There's the first Colossus right there joining up with Naniwa's army. Now he's gearing up and setting up to try to take that pocket third, which, you know, in this case, I do think that's probably a smarter decision based off of the type of army that he's got right now. He can kind of defend, I guess, a lesser surface area. He'll have to worry about those back rocks if that ever comes into play, but right now I think Naniwa is actually looking pretty good. There is the Ventral Sax upgrade, however, and that could mean the start of some drops here from Moon.
We also see a Baneling nest going down. We've seen that the Baneling drops on these huge Colossi army are extremely good, especially if you spent a lot on Roaches early on, and you know all these Lings that Moon built early, suddenly he can morph them all into Banelings. So it's taking that army that was used for some sort of one-time defense and transitioning it into something that's good for a late defense. But now we see Naniwa now moving out with the second Colossus. This is a trademark, very, very nice aggression by Naniwa.
And he is going to, I mean, Moon is going to split up his army here a little bit. He's sending a pack of Roaches and Lings over to this third. He's going to warp in a few Stalkers to try to defend it, but those Stalkers will go down quite easily. However, the Roaches just kind of staying stationary, causing Naniwa to react, though, and going to throw that off a little bit. It will allow him a little bit of time to, you know, get done when he wants to get done. Now, what is that? He is getting Baneling speed, also waiting for melee attacks level 2, and there is going to be the morphing of these Banelings, but they're going to be so slow for quite a while. He's going to have to use them in drops.
So here comes the nice aggression from Naniwa. We see that one overseer trying to put a changeling out. Naniwa doesn't want any of that. Now trying to eliminate some of these creep tumors. Has to be careful. There's Roaches, Banelings, Zerglings at every single angle. This expansion just now getting up from Naniwa. Hasn't begun any sort of transfer. Has not yet gotten any of that blink. And oh my goodness, 32 more Banelings getting morphed by Moon. He is going to have a ridiculous amount of Banelings. You know, it's a useful fact to keep in mind.
What's that?
Look at that. 43 damage versus light. You can actually kill a probe in one hit with a Baneling once it's at +2 upgrade.
Yep, and he is loaded up. Look at the amount of Overlords that are filled with Banelings. There are so many right now. He's got a ton of Roaches as well, so he will have to execute this nicely. Now he's going to split up this Roach force and try to create a sandwich out of the Protoss here. Naniwa is definitely moving back. The Observer, following the action from behind, has a pretty darn good idea what's happening now. We also see the Spire underway, so if he has to switch over to Corruptors, he can. And the question is will we actually see the engaged attack here? It does look like he's going to go in!
Oh no! Completely murdering all of these Stalkers, doing huge damage, catching all of them at an amazing angle. Naniwa now trying to spread out, losing one of those Colossi, and it looks like all the Roaches are stuck on the backside, and Naniwa may have amazingly defended against that huge amount of Banelings.
Yeah, and he's actually seeing, he's taking out a lot of these Overlords. In fact, look at that. We see a huge, huge supply deficit for Moon right now. He's marching back with all of those Roaches, and had those force fields not gone down, it would not have been pretty for Naniwa.
Naniwa now adding on a ridiculous amount of extra gateways. Still has not done any upgrades. Neither blink nor charge, nor even the +2 upgrades. He does have